بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم رجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Hussaini Kids live on Hidayat TV. I'm your host Hassan Shah, and today our topic is Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. We're going to be talking about a little bit before his life of Karbala, and as well in Karbala and afterwards as well. So first of all, before we start, can we have a loud salawat in honor of our first Imam, Imam Ali alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And second, in honor of our in honor of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajum. And third, with our loudest voices, in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asri wal Zaman, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajum. Okay, so before we start, I'll first of all introduce our guests. So,
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Misbah.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Mohsin.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Hussain.
And before we start, Misbah will be reciting a little bit from the Quran and Mohsin the translation. So can we start him off with a loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajma.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, indeed we have granted you, O Muhammad, Al-Kawthar. So pray to your Lord and sacrifice to Him alone. Indeed your enemy is the one cut off. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajum. Thank you, Mohsin. And remember, whenever you are reading surah, whenever you're reading a surah, make sure you read the translation as well, so you know the history behind it and also how you can implement it into your life. So thank you for that, Mohsin and Misbah. Alright, so who we're talking about today? Imam Zainul Abidin. He is the what Imam?
He's the fourth Imam.
Fourth Imam, yes. And he was born on the 5th of Shaban in the 38th year after Hijrah, and died on the 25th of Muharram on the 95th year after Hijrah. Yeah, and he's very much known for his piety, worship, spirituality, especially spirituality, and humility as well. So many people take their spiritual knowledge from this holy Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. But when we mention him, was it normally in the context of? What do you think it might be normally in the context of? Because because think about what happened to his father. Who's his father? Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Yeah. So what is he normally mentioned in the context of? What happened to Imam Hussain?
Karbala.
Yeah. So he's normally mentioned in that context, isn't he? Yeah. So we're going to try to now examine Imam Ali ibn Hussain as because he is a very important person, and he was even mentioned by his great grandfather. Who's his great grandfather?
The Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was mentioned by the Prophet before he was born. Yeah. So Hussain, you've got the first thing. So can we start Hussain off with a loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
The fourth holy Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi was born in Medina on the 5th of Shaban 38 AH. His epithet was Abu Muhammad, and he was popularly called Zain al-Abidin. The mother of this holy Imam was a royal personage, Shahu Banu, Shah Banu, the daughter of King Yazid III, the last pre-Islamic ruler of Iran. The holy Imam Zain al-Abidin spent his first 2 years of his infancy in the lap of his grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib, and then for 12 years he had the gracious patronage of his uncle, the second holy Imam Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam. In 61 AH, he was present in Karbala at the time of the gruesome tragedy of the wholesale massacre of his father, his uncles, his brothers, his cousins, and all the godly comrades of his father. He suffered a heartless captivity and imprisonment at the hands of the devilish forces of Yazid Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajam. Thank you, Saint. So now we know his father, obviously we should know this even before, that his father is obviously Imam Hussain ibn Imam Ali alayhi salam, and his mother was actually, before she was called Shah Banu, she was called Shah Sanan, and she was one of the daughters of the last kings of Persia before Islam and Prophet Muhammad came, yeah, and that Shah Zanan in Arabic means Sayyidatun Nisa'i al-Alamin, Sayyidatun Nisa, yeah, and who's that name given to? Sayyidatun Nisa. Who? Bibi
Fatima.
Bibi Fatima salamu alayhi. Yeah. So Imam Ali, obviously because there's only one Bibi Fatima Sayyidatun Nisa, isn't there? Yeah. So he changed her name to Shah Banu. Yeah, and she's one of the first women, one of the women to actually convert to Islam from Khurasan, from Iran. Yeah. And who did she marry?
Imam Ali.
Not Imam Ali.
Imam Zain. No.
She's the mother of him, so
Hussain,
Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Yeah. So this actually, so you see, this was actually the beginning of the mixing between the Arabs and the Persians. Yeah. And because and the Arabs actually, because they had like this kind of arrogance in themselves and kind of like pride in themselves, that they really thought themselves above the Persians. Before this marriage between Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Shah Banu, yeah, there wasn't actually much things like that, the marriage between an Arab and a Persian, yeah. So it just like Imam Hussain is trying to highlight that there's no problem marrying someone from a different culture or race, yeah. And he was actually one of the first Imams to actually marry outside of their race, like outside of an Arab, yeah. And so it was like he was carrying out the verse of the Quran saying, "O mankind, we have created you from male and female, and from different races and different tribes, in order that you get to know one another." Yeah, and it's like he was acting out that verse, isn't it? Yeah. But actually, sad news for Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, that his actually mother, she actually died a few days after giving birth to him. Yeah, so he was actually an orphan when he just a few days after he was born, but that didn't mean that he never had a mother figure in his life, because the other wives of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, they were like the mother figure of to Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. And one of the most famous stories from Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam is actually a story with him and his stepmother, when him and his stepmother are sitting down, his stepmother made some food, and they both sat down to eat the food, and then Imam Zain al-Abidin never touched anything, and his stepmother herself never touched anything as well. Yeah, and Imam Zain al-Abidin was looking at the food, because there was a few different plates of food, looking at one type of food, then looking at his stepmom, looking at another type of food, then looking at his stepmom, and then his stepmother said to him, "Oh, what's wrong? Why are you doing that?" And then he said, "I am scared to touch, to take out food that you have your eyes on." Yeah. So this is how much of respect that he had for his stepmother and not his actual mother. So you would think, actually, if you would see Imam Zain al-Abidin and see how he would act with his stepmother, you would think the stepmother was his actual mother, the way he actually respected and were kind to them as well. So Mohsin, you've got the next thing. So can we start, Mohsin, after loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjam.
When Imam Hussain had come for the last time to see his camp to bid goodbye to his family, Ali Zain al-Abidin was lying semi-conscious in his sickbed, and hence he escaped the massacre of Karbala. Imam Hussain could only manage a brief talk with his inmate of his camp and departed, nominating his sick son as Imam.
The holy Imam Zain al-Abidin lived for about 34 years after his father, and the rest of his life he passed in prayers and supplication to God and in remembrance of his martyred father. It is for his constant prayers to God, mostly lying in prayerful prostration, that this holy Imam was popularly called Sajjad, which means one who prostrates. The knowledge and piety of this holy Imam was matchless. Zuhri, Waqidi and Ibn Aniya say that they could not find anyone equal to him in piety and in godliness. He was so mindful of God that whenever he performed ablution for prayers, the complexion of his face would change, and when he stood at prayer, his body was seen trembling. When asked why this was, he replied, Know you not before whom I stand in prayers and with whom I hold discourse."
Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjam. Thank you, Hussein. So Miss Mohsin, they talked a little bit about them both together there. So Mohsin, what were you explaining there?
When he was going to bid farewell to Imam Hussain, when he was going to bid farewell to his family before he died, and when he was talking to the soldiers that was going to go to the war in Karbala, he was talking to them, and then he appointed his son, his sixth son, as the Imam.
Yeah, so that was Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah, and Misbah, you carried on from that. What did you talk about?
Talk about in his prayers he would prostrate so long that he was popularly called Sajjad.
Yes,
Which
Sajjad.
means one who prostrates.
Yeah, and one of the he was actually called Sajjad, which means the one that prostrates a lot. And he would this is why I said at the beginning that a lot of people take their spiritual knowledge from Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, because the amount of prayers that he did, and what he talked about, and the amount of du'as that he actually did, that he actually wrote, and he wrote it in a book, didn't he? Any of you know the name of that book?
Sajjadiyah.
Yes, Sajjadiyah. Yeah, and he wrote this book, and it has all the du'as in it, and it's a book of du'as. I think for as well, it includes du'as for your parents, du'as for your children, and a lot of du'as are actually in that book, and people take the spiritual knowledge from Imam Zain al-Abidin and actually from this book as well. So that's how much he actually and another reason why he was actually called Sajjad as well, because he actually prostrated so much, and people will kind of use a simile and compare his forehead, yeah, to a skin of a camel's knee, because whenever a camel would sit down, his knees will be on the floor and will be on the hot sand, and some dead skin will be on there, yeah. And that's how much he actually prostrated on the ground, how much of prostration that he actually did, that he actually that his some skin would look like the knee of a camel. And actually he said one of the hadiths of his, that he actually said himself, that was that if mankind knew how much blessing that he got when he was prostrating, when he was in sajda, he would never lift his head. Yeah, so we need to think about that, shouldn't we? Because how much blessings he's telling us, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, that when we prostrate, we get so much blessings that if we knew how much blessings that we got from prostration, we would never lift that head up. Yeah, so that's a really important thing to think about. Yeah. So so thank you for that, Mohsin and Misbah. And also before Mohsin and Misbah, I was showing you about the manners of Imam Ali ibn Hussein. Yeah, I was talking about his manners there. So that gave you an example of the manners of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, and that's why his father, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, loved him so much. Imam Hussein alayhi salam could see the piety and imamat. He could see the imamat in Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. And one time that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam was actually ill. And this wasn't the same illness that he got that was in Karbala. This was before that. Yeah, so Imam Zain al-Abidin was ill, and Imam Hussein actually asked him, do you want me to call a doctor? And then he said to his dad that Allah will help me. Yeah, I believe that Allah will help me. I don't need a doctor. Then Imam Hussein alayhi salam said that he reminded him, Imam Zain al-Abidin reminded him of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. We actually talked about in the Prophethood series that we did, the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Do you remember the story when he was actually catapulted into, what was he catapulted into?
Fire.
Yeah, fire. Yeah, and as he was being actually thrown into the fire, that an angel came to him and said, do you want us to help you? Do any of you know what Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam said? Mohsin?
He said, no, I believe in Allah, He will help me.
Yeah, I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help me. So you can see the resemblance what they said. So that's why Imam Hussein alayhi salam actually said that you remind me of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So now think about this. Imagine if someone like that had attachment with their father, they had this kind of attachment with their father, yeah. And he wants to be with his father his whole life, and he had this attachment with his father. How would he feel at Karbala when he had this kind of attachment with his father, and then he had to see his father being slain like that? Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So Hussein, you've got the next thing. So can we start Hussein off with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum.
Even on the gruesome day of Ashura, when Yazid's forces had massacred his father, his relatives and his comrades, and had set fire to the camp, this holy Imam was engrossed in his supplications to the Lord. When the brutal forces of Yazid's army had taken the ladies and children as captives, carrying them seated on the bare backs of camels, tied in ropes, this holy Imam, though sick, was put in heavy chains with iron rings round his neck and his ankles, and was made to walk barefoot on the thorny plains from Karbala to Kufa and to Damascus. And even then this godly soul never was unmindful of his prayers to the Lord, and was always thankful and supplicative to him. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum. Thank you, Hussein. So Hussein was saying there, after all of this, actually, what did Imam Zain al-Abidin do? Hussein said that there. So after all of this he's been at that point in his life where his father needs him the most, and he's not actually able to get up and help his father. Yeah, he's not able to do this. Yeah, and he's seen his father being slain. Yeah, and after all of this pain that he's been through, what does he do?
He still
He still has a strong faith in Allah, and he never loses his faith in God.
Yeah, he never loses his faith. And this is now what I say is actually true. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how he actually recovered after that. Recovered from his illness, and how he recovered after Karbala. Yeah. And he was actually at Karbala, he was 22 years of age, and he only Allah knows actually how he actually recovered after the 10th of Muharram. So as we know, he was ill on the 10th of Muharram. He actually never became ill on that day. He actually became ill on the journey towards Karbala, and he still had that disease on the 10th of Muharram as well. And when it was the 10th of Muharram, and he's noticed his father was in the last moments, his elder brother Ali al-Akbar had died, his younger brother, the 6-month-old baby, had died, and his cousin Qasim had died, and all of the companions had passed away. So on the 10th of Muharram, just before Imam Hussain alayhi salam was about to leave Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Zain al-Abidin said Imam Hussain was about to leave the camp, and he was saying goodbye to his family members, and he was about to go, and because he was the last person there, yeah, so he was about to go, and he was the last person. And then Imam Zain al-Abidin said, "Oh people, get me a sword and get me a stick." He said, because with a stick that he can stand up, can't he? And get me a sword so I can protect my father in his final moments. So even in this ill stage that he was in, yeah, he still wanted to protect his father because of the relationship he actually had with his father. Yeah, and Imam Hussain alayhi salam said to Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam that you are God's proof on his creatures after me. So he's saying that after the death of himself, after the death of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, that the next Imam, the next proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth after Imam Hussain alayhi salam was who? Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. And he told Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam that you should remain patient in this period, that he's gonna be taken, period of suffering, yeah, that he's gonna be taken in. And that after that he only saw the horse actually return without his father on it. And the only time that he saw his father after that is actually when he had to wash his father's body, when he had to do ghusl. And so Imam Zain al-Abidin actually performed Imam Hussein's ghusl. So Mohsin, I think you've got the next thing. So can we start Mohsin off with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
His charity was unassuming and hidden. After his passing away, the people said that hidden charity ended with the departure of his holy Imam. Like his grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ali Zain al-Abidin used to carry on his own back at night bags of flour and bread for the poor and needy families in Medina. First, he maintained hundreds of poor families in the city. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajah. Thank you, Mohsin. So, Mohsin, can you tell us what did you mention there?
When even after all this, he still was good, and he in the night he used to carry food on his back to give to people so then they won't starve. And the ingredients were, well, the things that he gave were flour, bread, and I think it was flour, bread.
Flour, bread, and what else?
Flour and bread, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. So actually, there's another story of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. That actually some person he had a debt. I think it was some person that he had a debt, and he went asking. He kept asking Imam Zainul Abidin, "Oh, help me pay this debt. Help me pay this debt." And then actually on the death, when Imam Zainul Abidin actually died, his son, who's Imam Zainul Abidin's son, the fifth Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam. So the man that had this debt, I think it was a debt, and this man that had the debt went to Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam and actually said, that there was a man that always used to come to me in the night. He always used to come to me in the night, and he used to bring me some food, and he was covered up, like Moses said, like Imam Ali alayhi salam, and he was covered up, and he used to go to me and actually give me food, and Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, because this man had this debt, and Imam Zainul Abidin actually couldn't pay him this money. After he kept asking for Imam Zainul Abidin to pay this, he used to curse Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. He used to say bad things about Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam just because Imam Zainul Abidin couldn't pay that debt off for him. And so when he went to Muhammad Baqir and said, there was this man that always used to come and bring me food at night, and he was covered up. And then Imam Muhammad Baqir said, that was my father Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, the one that you were cursing. So that just showed the piety and the humility of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. For even a person that would curse him because he wouldn't help him pay his debt, that he actually helped as well by giving him his food and by helping him like that. So what does that show of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam? Shows the kind of impeccable character, isn't it, Mohsin?
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mohsin. Misbah, you've got the next thing. So can we start Misbah salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
The Holy Imam was not only hospitable even to his enemies, but he also used to continually exhort them to the right path. The Holy Imam, along with the Ahlul Bayt, passed through the dreadful and very dangerous times, for the aggressions and atrocities of the tyrant rulers of the age he had reached a climax. There was plunder, pillage, and murder everywhere. The teachings of Islam were observed more in their breach. The heartless tyrant Hajjaj bin Yusuf, appointed governor of Syria by the Caliph Marwan, was threatening anyone who professed allegiance or devotion to the Ahlul Bayt, and those caught were mercilessly put to death. The movement of the Holy Imam was strictly restricted, and his meeting with any person was totally banned. Spies were employed to trace out the adherents of the Ahlul Bayt. Practically every house was searched and every family scrutinized. The Holy Imam was not given the time to offer his prayers peacefully, nor could he deliver any sermons. This is the vicegerent of God on earth, therefore adopted a third course which proved to be very beneficial to his followers.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Thank you, Misbah. And so Misbah was talking about after Karbala and all of that, even after all of that, the Umayyad Khalifa at that time was still opposing people to be followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and would actually go into people's houses like Misbah said. And what else did they do, Misbah? That included Imam Zainul Abidin. What did they do to Imam Zainul Abidin and his followers?
Spies.
Yeah, they put spies out. And what else?
His meeting with any person was banned.
Yeah, he wasn't allowed to have a meeting with anyone. What else, Misbah? That I think did we already mention that they went into houses, innit? Yeah. So they went into the houses of the people. Yeah, kind of and spied on them also. Yeah, and it also would not let Imam Zainul Abidin have a meeting with anyone. Yeah, so his meetings were banned. Yeah, and this is the oppression that Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam kind of had, and he wasn't actually in peace to do his prayers and all of that. So he was actually constantly being put under pressure and being spied on. And later they would ask Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, which was the most difficult part for you, you know, in the whole journey from Karbala. They asked, was it Karbala, was it Kufa, was it Sham? And he replied, Asham, Asham, Asham. Yeah, so we're actually going to talk about I'm going to talk a little bit about Asham just after Hussein. So can we start Hussein off with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
He compiled prayers and supplications for daily use in the endeavor to approach the Almighty Lord. The invalued collection of his edited prayers are known as Sajjadiyah, pages of the prostrating one, and also known as Zabur-e-al-Muhammad, Palms of the People of Muhammad. The collection is an invaluable treasure of wonderfully effective supplication to the Lord in immeasurably beautiful language. Through these prayers, the Imam gave all the necessary guidance to the faithful during his selection. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Thank you, Hussein. So Hussein there was talking about a little bit that that we already mentioned this, didn't we? They actually compiled. He he wrote the du'as and he compiled them in this book, Sahifa Sajjadiyah. Yeah, and actually this book was compared to, you know, that the Christians and the Jews have the Psalms of David. So the Zabur of Dawood. Yeah, because the 5 Ulul Azm prophets and do any of you know? We already talked about. So
Prophet
Muhammad,
Prophet
Ibrahim,
Prophet Isa, Prophet Musa, Prophet
Ibrahim.
Wait, let's go back to the beginning.
Prophet Muhammad.
Let's go for Prophet Muhammad last. So Prophet Ibrahim, Prophet Musa, Prophet Isa. Before Prophet Isa, Prophet Dawood,
Prophet Muhammad.
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. So actually the Zabur came down with who?
Prophet
Dawood alayhi salam. So the Zabur came down with Prophet Dawood, and actually the Sahifa Sajjadiyah was compared to the Zabur because Zabur was kind of a book of du'as as well. The Psalms of David it's kind of like a book of du'as, and it was actually compared to that, so it was called the Zabur of the Muslims. So thank you for that, Hussein. So Mohsin, you've got the next thing, so can we start Mohsin off with the loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
On the 25th of Muhammad AH, when he was in Medina, Walid bin Abdul Malik Muryan, then the ruler, had this holy Imam martyred by poison. The funerals for the holy Imam were conducted by his son, the 5th Imam, Muhammad al-Baqir, and his body was led to rest in the cemetery Jannat al-Baqi in Medina. Salawat.
Allahumma
salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjahum. Thank you, Mohsin. So he's actually poisoned by the Khalifa at the Khalifa at the time, yeah, and he was poisoned for actually being because he actually how he was, and I'm gonna talk little bit about that now, and how he was actually like kind of showed to the people, and him and Bibi Zainab was the most who actually propagated the like story of Karbala and what actually happened, is because without these two today we wouldn't have what we know of Karbala today. Before a little bit before that, I said after all of this they would ask Imam Zain al-Abidin, what was the most difficult part for you? Was it Karbala, was it Kufa, was it Sham? He replied, Asham, Asham, Asham. Yeah. And then Imam Ali ibn Hussain, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, narrates that Wallah, we was walking and a man came to me and said, curse you and curse your people. Imam asked him, do you know, so the Imam asked him, do you know who we are? The man said, no, but I told you were, but I was told that you were a group of rebels. So these people, as they was walking through Sham to go to the court of Yazid, yeah. So as they was walking, these people was chucking stuff at them, poking them, and doing all sorts of things. And they actually, some didn't even know who they were. So actually, so then he said, oh, that I've been told that you were a group of rebels. And then Imam Zain al-Abidin said, have you read the verse in the Quran? And he recited some verses in the Quran, including Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Innama yuridullahu liyuthiba ankum rijsa ahlul bayti wa yutahhirakum tathira. Yeah. So then do any of you know who that ayah was about? Ahlul Bayt.
Ahlul Bayt.
Yeah, Ahlul Bayt. Because it said, Innama yuridullahu liyuthiba ahlul bayti wa yutahhirakum tathira. So in this actually ayah, it talks about, this is kind of a proof for the because some other schools of Islam, they say, oh, they don't believe in the purity and the sinlessness of the imams and the prophets. So we bring this ayah and say this shows that the Ahlul Bayt of the Holy Prophet were pure and clean. So he said, he asked the man, oh, did you read this ayah? Yeah. And then the man and then he said, yeah, I've read this ayahs in the Quran. And then Imam Zain al-Abidin asked the man, oh, do you know who these ayahs are about? Yeah, he said, Al Muhammad, the family of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, and then Imam Zain al-Abidin says, do you know who we are? Yeah, and then he said no, and then Imam Zain al-Abidin said, we are Al Muhammad, we are the family of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the man would obviously be shocked now in these verses in the Quran saying that talking about the Ahlul Bayt, and even what the Holy Prophet said. The Holy Prophet said, I think was in his last speech, it might be in Ghadir was his last speech, I think it was in his last speech, said that there's two weighty things, yeah, that you need to hold on. If you hold on to these two things, yeah, you will never go astray. Yeah, and he said Quran and Ahlul Bayt, and he actually made this kind of symbol with his hand when he said Quran and Ahlul Bayt. Why do you so Quran and Ahlul Bayt, he brought them together like this? Why do you think he brought them together like this?
Because they work together, like they go together.
Yeah, they work. Yeah.
So like the Quran would say stuff, like it would say stuff, and then the Ahlul Bayt would explain it.
Yeah, so they are together, and also the Prophet Muhammad could do this. Prophet Muhammad could do this. Yeah, with different fingers. Why did he do with his two what are these fingers called?
Index.
Index fingers, innit? Yeah. So he did it with his index fingers, two And why did he do that, Mohsin?
Because like they're the same.
Yeah, they're the same size, so they're equal and also they're parallel, like Hussein said. Yeah, that they're parallel and they're equal to each other. Yeah. So this man would obviously be shocked. They've done this to the family of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Imam Zain al-Abidin said, that's my father's head on that spear. Yeah, and then the man said, oh, who's your father? He said, Hussein ibn Ali, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Yeah, and then the man he was quite shocked about this. Yeah, so some of these people, they didn't even know what they was actually doing. Some of them were chucking stuff, some of them were poking the Imam with sticks, and actually I think Bibi Zainab actually said that while we were walking through the streets of Sham, people were pouring boiling head on my nephew. Who's her nephew? Imam Zain al-Abidin, because she's whose sister? She's
Imam Hussein.
Yeah, she's Imam Hussein's sister. Yeah. So they were pouring boiling water on the head of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Yeah, and also they were poking him with spears as well. That's what she also said. Yeah. So this is the amount of torture that that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam was actually put through, and still, like we already mentioned, after all of that, what did he do?
He never listened to them. He just kept on being quiet.
Yeah, still had a strong faith.
Yeah, still had a strong faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and had this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that could never be broken with anything that any atrocity that was put upon him. He would never lose his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With a normal person, some people actually this is really bad to do, and make sure people at home that they don't get to this level. Whenever they are in hardship, that they say, oh Allah, why have you done this to me? And they say that. Yeah. And Imam Zain al-Abidin, after all of that, he never said, oh, why Allah, why are you doing this, why are you putting this punishment on me? Yeah. And he just kept his faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he read du'as, and he did namaz so much, and he prostrated so much that he was that people will call him Sajjad because of that, like we already mentioned. So it shows the character of Imam Zain al-Abidin, that after all that he's been put through, he still actually he's had a strong faith. So now can we end this with a loud salawat? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farjah. Thank you people at home that hope you've listened to this and learned a little bit about Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. So I hope you now understand a lot more about Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, because as I said at the beginning, that he's normally mentioned in the context of Karbala, and how he was ill in Karbala, and that's sometimes all that we hear about Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. I hope you have learnt a lot, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place on Hidayat TV. But until then, Khud Hafiz.